Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Podium Picks. Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez here inside Working Against Gravity Studios. This week on Podium Picks, Tommy, we are ranking our top rookie performances at the games. Now, this could mean anything from a single event to maybe the entirety of the CrossFit Games, whatever we wanted it to be, our top rookie moments. But before we get into that, I want to talk about our title sponsor, Working Against Gravity. If you're looking, man, summer's coming up. So if you're going to get that nutrition dialed in, lose them LBs, get ready for pool season, which we are really smack dab in the middle of right now. You definitely want to check out Working Against Gravity.
Especially coming off something like 4th of July where I may enjoy a wobbly pop or two. It's nice to have someone like Working Against Gravity in my corner, my coach, knowing that I can kind of have that moment of indulgence, but ultimately I have the framework and the structure and the healthy habits consistently throughout my week to get back on the horse and keep charging away towards my goals. And they do that by pairing you with your very own one-on-one nutrition coach who will help you dial in whether it's your macros, or just your macros, whether it's a keto-friendly diet or intermittent fasting, and a schedule to be able to really kind of focus on the goals and accomplish what you want to, both from training and nutrition, be able to fuel yourself properly. It helped me simultaneously get ready for a kickboxing, jiu-jitsu match, and ultra marathon. And my coach was right there with me through all of it, even formulating a nutrition plan for my race day. So they give you the full service and really help you, whether you're a regular recreational athlete like myself or, a multi-year games champion as well, like Catherine David's daughter. So, I love it. I can't imagine life without it, doing all the crazy, dumb things that I do. And if you guys are interested in dialing in your nutrition, you're finally ready to kind of take that leap, head over to workingagainstgravity.com. Let them know we sent you by putting in the code ELITE50, and it'll get you $50 off so you can get your nutrition squared away for that very first month and hopefully beyond. Once again, workingagainstgravity.com, using the code ELITE50.
Yeah, super stoked to have Working Against Gravity on board as our title/presenting sponsor. Okay, let's get into this week's edition of Podium Picks. We're back on the CrossFit side of things, and we're doing rookie performances here. And when you first suggested this one, I was like, oh man, that's going to be tough. And then I really started diving into it. I went, this is tough because there are a lot of real good ones. Some of mine are a little out of left field. I went outside the box on one of them, but that's that's okay. There are lists. I don't know who's up for this one. Am I starting or are you starting?
You can start.
I'll start. Okay, so I will start with my spirit of the games and my dark horse. So my spirit of the game, actually, they both go back to 2014. All right. So spirit of the games is the speed clean ladder, and it's Cody Anderson's lift at 310 to close the thing out. And I think it was the semifinal round he was in when he did that. Fantastic moment, really encapsulates, I think, what CrossFit is all about. Everybody was on their feet cheering him on. He was the last guy to finish. Was shocked that he was able to lift that weight. He had another great performance as well. I think he won the Muscle Up Biathlon that year as well. Finished, I think he was outside the top 20. But I can't remember specifically. But that's the one performance for him that really sort of put him on my radar. It's like, we got to watch out for this kid because it was sort of the twilight of Chris Spieler's career, and we were looking for that next kind of small, undersized guy who could kind of do the impossible things that Chris Spieler did. And then when we saw that from Cody Anderson, we said, maybe this guy could be it. And hasn't had the run that Spieler has had, but he has been to multiple games and has been a fixture among the CrossFit Games athletes when they show up in Madison or in Carson. So that was the one that I thought was really sort of the spirit of the games. Now, this is where I'm going outside the box. I'm going outside the box. This is not an athlete. This is not an athlete.
Go test
okay,
it out.
It's not an athlete that I'm talking about here. This goes back to 2014 as well. And my dark horse for rookie performances goes to Tommy Marquez.
What?
For the performance on the day at the game show, because we threw you right in the fire. And we were like, I don't know if Tommy, this is rough. First assignment is going to be on ESPN, and Tommy freaking nailed it, man. You did a great job. And
that caught me off guard.
And we were like, I was thinking about it. I go, how can I not give it to Tommy? Because you want to talk about pressure-packed situation for your first ever time on some sort of national stage, crushed it. So my
Thanks,
my
man.
dark horse is your rookie performance on the CrossFit Games media team in 2014.
Well, you sure know how to make a brown man blush. Dude. That is, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You did a fantastic job that year. I remember thinking, man, Tommy is really good at this. So
man,
there you go.
Oh man, just thinking about it makes me nervous again all over.
There were a couple of times where like I remember when we were talking about being on ESPN, Bill had a real when we were getting ready for an event. He's really nervous. Like, hey man, don't worry about it, man. It's just tens of thousands of people watching right now. It's not a big deal. He's like, would you not do that? I'm like, so.
Oh, the good old days, right?
So yeah. So Spirit of the Games, Cody Anderson's lift, and then dark horse, Tommy Marquez.
Oh man, appreciate that.
No problem.
All right, so my Spirit of the Games is in 2011, and it's Josh Bridges at the beach.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So to give you a little bit of history, Josh Bridges is a guy who had showed up on CrossFit.com, throwing down some crazy impressive scores, and people are like, "Who is this dude?" And obviously CrossFit was very popular within the special forces and military communities. You're like, "Oh, this is a SEAL," and keep hearing how he's just this animal. He's been doing it. I think he's been doing it since 2007, 2006.
Yeah, he already had quite a lot of experience under his belt, I think.
Yeah, there's just this monster who hadn't been able to compete at the games because of his profession, and finally was going to compete at the games. Everyone's kind of excited to see how this does. And the 2011 beach event was the first ever offsite event for the CrossFit Games, and it involved a 1 mile run. I believe it was 50 pull-ups, 100 air squats, 100 push-ups, 150 air squats, 1 mile run. Murph-esque, beach-esque, very Navy.
They didn't get into the water?
Maybe they did start with a swim. Yeah. You're right. They start with a swim. Good catch.
Every now and then I'll get something right.
Yeah. You pulled a me on me. And Josh Bridges absolutely destroyed it.
Yeah.
He won his very first CrossFit Games event, goes out and wins in pretty spectacular, dominating fashion. And I remember being there watching him run across the beach and like, oh, dang, this guy is legit. And he went on to win multiple events. I think he won 3 events that year, finished second behind Rich Froning. And that was really like, for the public eye, the beginning of the Josh Bridges we know and love, who always competed with spirit.
Yes, he did. That's good. I like that.
So my dark horse, and this is really tough. This would have been higher if the last couple of years hadn't gone differently. And it was almost, the best place to hide something is in plain sight.
Yep.
And this is why Laura Horvath in 2018 for 2-stroke pull.
Oh, that's okay. Interesting.
Is my dark horse.
Okay.
So we had heard you were the first person to come back from the Europe regional and be like, this kid is going to be the truth. She was 17 at the time. She finished top 10 in regionals. You're like, just wait. She's going to do something amazing. Qualifies for the games. She was 19 or 20, I think. And she had already won an event at the games by having won the battleground. You had that famous call from Sean being like, somebody get out there and tell this girl she's a rookie. And 2-stroke pull went like this: multiple rounds, assault bike, run. You had to drag a sled, basically pull it up into the next round. This is a classic Katrin David's daughter type sled dog workout where she'll just hammer, do intervals. This is something where once Katrin got out in front, you were like, okay, Katrin's going to win this one.
It done.
Yep. And just slowly but surely, here comes old Laura Horvath, just the new kid on the block, kind of being like, hi, how's it going? I'm Laura. Oh, you're winning? Here, let me take that from you. And just, I remember she snatched Katrin's soul out from her body in that last round because Katrin emptied the tank on the bike to come off the bike first. And, Katrin's got a little drama to her when she comes off, a little bit of panache. And
good word.
And I just studied the dictionary this morning. And Laura just calm face walks up beside her like and just overtakes her on the pull, walks away to victory. And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And she finished second, and it felt like a force of nature at the time. She had that force of nature feeling. And, obviously the last couple of years haven't gone as well, but she's obviously still extremely talented and has a bright future.
All right. Those were two good ones. Okay. So now we get to the top three. So I will start with third place. And this is not one event, but it's a collection of them. And we got to go back to 2016. And this is when Brent Fikowski won 4 events in 2016. And to me, that was so cool because if you go back to the prior 2 years, 15 and 14 at the regional level, he had suffered heartbreak as far as not making it to the games. And it was like really, it got to the point where it was tough to watch when you saw how close he was and then he didn't make it. There's that famous shot of him where he's in the lounge chair just with his head in his hands and his girlfriend's consoling him. And then he shows up in 2016 and he wins 4 events. And I think that is still the rookie record for event wins at the CrossFit Games. And that was when he really established himself as someone who was a force to be reckoned with. And he still is. You give him a groove pitch and like an event where he can really strategize, he's going to do very well at it. Still has some holes in the game, but that's when it's like, yeah, this guy can absolutely do it. So that's 2016 Brent Fikowski's 4 rookie wins. That's number 1 for me.
It gives us tall and long rig shakers.
That's right. Hope, exactly. Shirts available now.
Yes. Shirts available. Get your merch, swipe up, do the thing. That's a good one. That one completely skipped my mind. My third place is Annie Thorisdottir in the 2009 sandbag sprint in Aromas. The last games in Aromas. And this year was when Annie first showed up on the scene. And you talk to anyone from 2009, and that sandbag sprint is one of the worst workouts they've ever done. And here comes this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, really pale chick from Iceland, just mashing up the hill, wins the sandbag sprint. Before anyone even realized it, she's in contention to win. Now, I think she was going into the final, I think she was a point behind Tanya Wagner for the overall lead. And she DNF'd, obviously, but we got that famous moment of her on the muscle up when it happened. And Annie's first muscle up has become like a thing of CrossFit legend. Yeah. But the reason why that was so monumental is because she had a chance at winning and she hit this massive roadblock. But she had a chance at winning because she smashed one of, like a lot of people say, is one of the hardest workouts they've done today. And really that set her up to become the queen of the sport. And really she was the person alongside Rich that carried CrossFit through its infancy years in the public eye. Right. She was the first female megastar. On that side. And I remember that video of her running up that hill. And I hope they bring that event back at the games. I hope they do that again. I want to see the carnage. That's a really good one. I actually thought about that one, but didn't include it. Yep, exactly. Okay. So second place for me is one that you've already mentioned. And that is Laurel Horvath in the 2-stroke pull event, because I won't spend a ton of time on it because you've already run it down very well. But the fact that she was able to face down Katrin Davidsdottir at that point and say, oh, no, I'm going to win this. Because I think in that event, I think Laura came in as the overall leader, which meant that she was like right next to Tia Toomey on one side, Katrin Davidsdottir on the other. And I think 2 lanes down was Annie Thorisdottir. So you are now with the best in the sport. Can you face this down and can you win? And she said, absolutely, I can do that. And I think to your point, I almost put this as number 1, but then it's like because of what happened afterwards. But still, it was a great performance to watch. And to me, her overall performance, Laura Horvath's overall performance in 2018 was one of the best stories that came out of the CrossFit Games. So she gets my number 2. Yep. That's a good one. My number 2 yes, is Matt Fraser in the overhead squat in 2014. Oh, yes. Okay. That's a good one. And this was one because one of the things that originally brought Matt Fraser into our eye was the fact that he tripled 315 for the overhead squat a year prior. Right, yeah. And that was like, oh, here's this weightlifter, pretty impressive. Maybe he's got to shore up some holes. A year later, he wins the Northeast Regional. He's got a ton of momentum. And the overhead squat was really a really big highlight for me as an event with the production. Everybody laid out on the floor. You go at a time. There's a little bit of jockeying as far as like
Wednesday night,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was the first night of the CrossFit Games. And everyone's like, there was like the people were kind of gaming each other, like putting weights on, kind of looking at what other people were doing. And there was like this kind of zip in the air. And I remember, you had Tommy Hackenbook and Rich like joking like, all right, someone going to hit 400. And I remember that year, Rich had finished 8th in the swim, and then he finished tied for first. Ironically enough, just as they are tied for titles now, him and Matt tied for first place in that with 377 pounds on the overhead squat. And I remember seeing Matt do the lift and then look around and be like, oh yeah, I got that. And seeing how he carried himself under the lights, like in a big time spot. And I'm like, oh, this kid's got it.
Yeah.
And obviously kid is a poor phrasing of it, but I'm like, yeah, this guy's got it. Like he has he has that it factor.
Yeah.
And the way he moved, in particular, the overhead squat, how casual he made it look was like, he's got some of the building blocks to be something great. And, if we revisited this list and he's got a couple more titles under the belt, that
maybe
might be
number one. Yeah.
But I have a reason why this, my next one was my number one.
I have a feeling you and I might have the same number one.
Oh, interesting.
We'll see. I don't know. Okay. So I'm opening now with my number one. So my number one is Tia Toomey taking second in 2015, second overall in 2015, because she never won an event that year, and she never finished better than third, but she finished second. And it was a joke in the media department because we used to have to take all the footage that was live that we shot at the games and come back to the office. And then we would cut these we call them post-production shows for ESPN. And we obviously had to find a way to tell Tia Toomey's story because she finished second, but we had no video of her because every time she would finish, like she just wasn't on the radar, despite the fact that she was doing so well in events. She never did well enough to win, so we didn't have like great footage of her coming across the finish line and winning an event. And then she would always kind of be, middle of the pack, so we didn't have that either. So we had to find a way to work her into the story. But she came out of nowhere, finishes second, and then that was the beginning of the second again the final year, and then the dominance that we now know for Tia Toomey. But it's funny to me that the greatest female competitor on the women's side now was basically someone we really didn't notice when she first showed up.
Yeah.
But had a pretty incredible performance that almost won the entire thing.
And I remember jokingly hearing I was watching people scrub through footage, and she always finished, because I think we'd like cover the top 3 in any heat or the top 4 in every heat. I think it was top 3. And she would always finish 4th in her heat. So it'd be like 1, all right, 2, and 3. All right, let's pack up. And we'd miss her by 1 spot. And it would always be like, oh. But that she had the special blend that just fit outside of the peripheral of what you would capture on live television and in the stream that year, which is funny and it's crazy to look back on. It's
you're right. We were always like, oh, was this person she's not going to stay there. Let's focus on these. Well, who's Tia Toomey? Okay, she's getting lucky. It's just like, it was kind of that Bjorn Gudmundsson thing, like the year prior. It was like, oh, well, he's not going to, well, okay, maybe he is.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to that point, you're like, I don't have any video of this guy. So we always apologize to Tia Toomey for not having the best video of her in 2015. All right. So what's your number one?
My number one is actually Rich Froning in 2010. And the deadlift pistol double under. And I have this vivid memory of watching this event and watching him, because pistol showed up. And it was like this big deal, one-legged squats. Remember, this is 2010. We're a long ways from it being in the open. And there was this huge dilemma, right? Because a lot of times people needed lifters, and these aren't the hybrid lifters that we have now. Like, we're talking the wood heel, do-in lifters to do pistols, but there was also double unders in the workout. So people are like, oh my gosh. They're like freaking out. Like, how are they going to do pistols and double unders with those shoes? What's going to happen? I remember that messed up Miko terribly in that workout. And I remember 2 athletes specifically. James Hobart, because he just moves like melted butter in a saucepan, and then Rich Froning, because he was doing really well. He may have been in the lead at that time. And I remember everyone being like, who's this Froning guy who's just crushing it? He's a rookie. And we're like, oh, let's see how he does here. Because obviously this is like high skill, heavy deadlift, double unders. And sure enough, he just goes out there, wins the event, just flowing with the, I think he tied Austin Malleolo in that, but just like smooth pistols, great movement, calm, relaxed, like the Rich we know now. And it's like, holy crap, this guy's the real deal. And the reason why I think this stands out right now ahead of Matt's performance, even though they both finished second, you could make an argument that if the games were more robust like they were from there on out, that Rich would have won. Yeah. That he would have won. That because how many? There was like what, 9 events? I think there was 9 events. Yeah, and maybe 10 with a triple finale at the end. Yeah, but the rope climbs is what ultimately kept Rich from winning. And you could argue that with more tests that may not have mattered. Right. So there's a universe that exists where Rich was the fittest on earth, fittest man in 2010. Now that's not taking anything away from Graham. He was rightfully the fittest man in 2010. He won the task. But in 2014, I don't think anyone would have argued that Matt was more fit than Rich. No, I think Rich was. It was just timing. Matt hadn't arrived yet. Yeah, he hadn't arrived yet. So I think that's where the separator was, because Rich won that event and was like, "Holy cow, this is another level guy," and he was good enough to win that year. Yeah, so, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that one. Yeah, I just remember watching the Pistols being like, "That'll never happen here." I love deadlifts and I love double unders, but I can't pistol. Yeah. My life depended on it. But yeah, I remember that's a visual anchor I have at the games that year. That's a good number one. A couple I left off that I thought about was Sarah Sigmundsdottir taking first in heavy DT. Heavy DT, yeah. That was a big moment for her. Josh Bridges, I had that on my list as well. He had a couple wins that year. Yeah. So those are the two that didn't make my list that I probably could have found a spot for, but I just didn't. Yeah. It's funny. I thought about I even thought about in 2014 Jordan Troy and winning the beach and then going. But he even called a shot. Like he had the white jersey on. I'm not going to last very long, and he went first. I think he's the only guy to ever win the opening event and dead last in the next one. Yeah. Talina Fortunato had a good in 2012 when she finished third. I believe she won the obstacle course. Maybe it was. Was it? Is it Casper Bauer who did the same thing? But he technically wasn't a rookie. He wasn't a rookie. Yeah. So he actually was at the games in 2009. Yeah, and he got time capped on the 3 rounds of 30 snatches, 30 wall balls, and I think it knocked him out of the competition. He was top 10. Okay, and so then he went team that next year. Yeah, and everybody was like, oh. But I think back then it's the big opening years. Everyone was basically a rookie. You had them all over the place. But those are some good moments. The Rich Froning one, I think, is a good history lesson for people who if you're trying to put your finger on when Rich arrived, because to me, I didn't see the games in 2010. I saw him in 2011. The moment for me is when he showed up again in 2011 and it was the rope clean event and he smashed that one. I was like, yes, that's the guy now. But it's cool to know that there's some Froning-esque moments before that as well. I remember, I believe I was standing next to Rory. He was getting ready to go back on and I was in the pit. Rich just destroyed that workout. Everybody looked at each other and were like, it's over. Yeah, that's it. I got to go win. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'd love to hear what you guys think are your top rookie moments at the CrossFit Games. Leave them in the comments. Next week, we'll get back to the pop culture side of things, but it was good to return to the CrossFit side of things. So thanks so much for listening to this week's edition of Podium Picks. For Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. We'll talk to you soon.